Turns out that offense is really fun, and when Shohei Ohtani's hitting the ball, everyone else is too. Let's talk about it. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Admit it, we all have a competitive side, and this competitive side over here is a fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. Join your friends and download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play. This is the daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers, and you can become an everydayer by listening or watching every day, which can be made easier by subscribing and being notified when our episodes are ready. If this is your first time listening or watching, welcome. My name is Vince Samperio. That's Jeff Snyder. My co-host Jeff and I are both lifelong Dodger fans. We've been doing the Locked On Dodgers podcast since 2019. We've been doing a Dodgers podcast since even longer than that. And we've both been covering the Dodgers in some capacity for about a decade. So we're well-versed in the world of the Dodgers, and we're here to bring you what we believe are smart and rational takes about the team, and maybe sometimes irrational. But either way, we're all trying to become better Dodger fans here, and we hope that that happens for you as well. And Jeff, we can all collectively agree on one thing, that life is better when the Dodgers win. And the Dodgers won yesterday in big fashion, 11-2, 11 runs, 20 hits. Landon Knack went 6 innings, got his first career win. And all in all, it was a good day.
Yeah, when you have 17 batted balls over 100 miles an hour, chances are good things are going to happen for you. And this time, sometimes you'll see hard hit outs, and there were a few of those, but the Dodgers had, looks like 12 hits on those 17 100-mile-an-hour balls. Overall, they had 25 balls that are classified as hard hit. Just, a dominant performance. Shohei Ohtani had a few of those, ripped 3 doubles. Like, it's just, when guys are hitting the ball hard, it's a lot of fun. And this game was maybe a little extra fun because it wasn't like a blowout from the start. So there was drama and intrigue. There was we're going to talk about Gavin Lux in the next segment. He had a huge hit in a key situation that sometimes you look at 11-2 final. Oh, there weren't any pressure packed at bats, but there were some big at bats there.
Yeah, the Dodgers scored in 6 of the 9 innings in which they batted, and they scored 5 runs in the last 2 innings. So, take away that 5, it was 6-2, still relatively close game going into later innings. The Dodgers continue to tack on. You mentioned Shohei Ohtani with the 3 doubles. He's now leading the league with 14 doubles. He's got up to 21 extra base hits. I know, you talked about how fun that home run was yesterday, and it was fun, but he continues to hit the ball hard. That double that he hit to start in the first inning, if I'm not mistaken, was on a 97-mile-an-hour pitch, almost at his shoulders, and he's sending it right back into the outfield, a little bit faster than 97.
Yeah, 115.6 on that one. Yeah. His other doubles were 105.7, and one was only 101.9, the last one. That one had a little more loft to it. That one looked like it might get out. It went off the wall in left center field. Just, he hits the ball so freaking hard, Vince.
Yeah, and it's not something, and we've talked about this before, but not something we're used to seeing as Dodger fans. I mean, he's already hit the hardest ball ever by almost 3 miles an hour in the StatCast tracking era. He continuously hits the ball over 100 miles an hour, over 110 miles an hour. And, the Dodgers, as good as they've been offensively the last few years, they've never been a max exit velo team. They've been a very solid exit velo team, but Shohei Ohtani puts them, now they're on the max and median, and it's all looking good right now.
Yeah, but speaking of max exit velocity, it wasn't just Ohtani. Max Muncy had 2 balls over 100 miles an hour. Mookie Betts had 3. Will Smith had 3. Andy Pages had 2. Teoscar Hernandez had 2. Freddie Freeman had 1. James Outman had 1. I think those numbers probably all add up to 17 because I think that's everybody. Almost the whole lineup. And then you had, Gavin Lux, his hardest hit was only 98.6. Like, I mean, everybody in the lineup was hitting the ball really, really hard today.
And it comes after a game in which they were shut down by Patrick Corbin in the first half of the game the day before. It comes off a pitcher that shut them down last week at Dodger Stadium. He went 6 innings against them. And this time he gave up 12 hits and 6 runs and did not get through 6 innings. So it's, we can't fully say the offense is back. Mookie Betts has been hitting well. Shohei Ohtani has been hitting well. Freddie's back on track, almost back up to 300. Will Smith has continued his tear. And if they can keep getting contributions from the rest of the lineup, the one Teoscar hit that went off the wall to right center, like off the bat, I thought it was a routine fly ball just of the way he swung. He just kind of flicked his wrist at it, and he almost took it over the wall. So, yeah, I mean, when this team isn't swinging and missing, they're putting the ball in play pretty hard, and that's going to be, a key to their success here. And, you look at it yesterday, they did have 6 strikeouts. Freddie actually had 2 of them. Teoscar had 2 of them, but it didn't ultimately end up hurting because they did hit a lot when they had the chances.
Yeah, and James Outman was the only guy in the lineup who didn't have a hit. But like I mentioned, he had a ball hit 110.3 miles an hour. Unfortunately, it was on the ground. He didn't strike out. And all in all, you look at just up and down the lineup, 4 hits for Mookie, 3 for Ohtani, 4 for Smith, 3 for Paez, 2 for Muncy, 2 for Lux, and then 1 each for Freeman and Teoscar. Just a total team effort. And like what we dream about with this offense, that it's not just the big 4, that it is, the bottom of the lineup coming through when they need to. Andy Paez looked probably the most comfortable he's looked in the batter's box. I think it seems like he is starting to settle in and feel like, hey, I'm a major leaguer now. I'm no longer, I'm a new major league. I'm just a big leaguer now. And, he'll still have his hiccups and stuff, but, only 6 strikeouts for the whole team is pretty remarkable. And yes, yeah, I don't know who I'm most excited about this game. Like everything, I'm like, okay, we talk about Ohtani. Like we could have done a full segment on Ohtani, full segment on Will Smith, his 3rd 4-hit game of the season after having 4 in his career in the first 5 seasons. Mookie Betts 4 hits, his batting average up to 365, which I think is 2nd in the league behind only Shohei Ohtani at 371, and Will Smith is just struggling down there at 352. It's pretty darn crazy. And Paez is, he's got a 903 OPS. That's his home run was one. It was like one of those where it's a no doubter, even though it only gets 4 rows into the stands or whatever. It was just a moonshot. And everything about this game was fun to watch.
Yeah, the one to mention now as we move forward is Gavin Lux, who did have 2 hits, a big one, a 2 RBI single, after it looks like the Dodgers were going to squander an opportunity to score some runs. It was a good game for him, and we got a little bit more clarity on what the Dodgers are expecting or looking for out of him. So we're going to talk about it, see if we agree with it, and, see what happens. So let's make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Policygenius. Policygenius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. They can help you get your financial future and financial safety net, get a head start on that. Because if you are someone that already has a family, planning to start a family, or even if you're just someone that wants to make sure people in your life have a secure future in the very case that something wrong goes or happens, Policygenius is here. You can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. So if you want to get in on that and save some time and get some convenient, Policygenius is there to help you compare options from top companies and their team of licensed experts on hand to help you talk through it all. Policygenius is there for unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team. They have no incentives. They're just there to help you get the right policy for you and your family. So check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonmlb or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quote and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonmlb. Today's episode is also brought to you by Monopoly Go. Listen up for this huge announcement. We've been tracking the leaderboards every day, all day, keeping eyes on the scores, putting all our heart into it, and we are super pumped to announce that we're on top. That's right. The Monopoly Go is the hit mobile game that you've probably heard of that's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great mobile twist on classic Monopoly. You can play anywhere, anytime. You explore hundreds of Monopoly boards from Las Vegas to Camelot to the moon, all while raking in a huge fortune. Charge rent on iconic properties just like classic Monopoly. You can charge your friend rent on those same iconic properties, or you can go after their Monopoly money by pulling bank heists and taking wrecking balls to their landmarks. Our favorite part of Monopoly Go is leaderboards, where you can see who's a Monopoly tycoon and who's gone bankrupt. So go get yourself on the charts now. Download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store and Google Play. We want to thank you for being an everydayer. If you are an everydayer, someone that listens or watches every day, that can be made easier by subscribing where we get podcasts and on YouTube, and get notified when our episodes are ready for you. Remember, you can go to Locked On Sports Today or Locked On Sports Los Angeles on YouTube to hear the 24/7 streaming channel that's bringing you the biggest stories of the day in the sports world and LA sports world without all the screaming. Can't miss analysis, opinions, and news all right there for you 24/7, streaming on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you all do go to the Locked On Sports Los Angeles page after most Dodger games, you'll see our buddy Pete Fox over there doing the Locked On Dodgers postcast, which can be found on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles or on our audio feed. So go check him out. He's fun. He brings different thoughts than we may have. So if you want to hear some different opinions, go check out Pete. And Jeff, Gavin Lux, you're the leader, the conductor of the Gavin Lux hype train. He had 2 hits yesterday. Like I mentioned, a big one with 2 outs and 2 runners on to give the Dodgers 2 more runs when the game was still kind of close. And we found out the day before that the Dodgers are planning to give him about 150 at-bats to kind of check and see what they're going to get from him, see if they believe in him and all that type of stuff. I believe he's around 65 at-bats right now. Average and everything else still isn't there, but hopefully yesterday's game is a sign for some positivity moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. And that hit, the game was really close. It was 4-2 at the time. Dodgers are up by 2 runs, and Landon Knack had struggled in the second inning. We'll talk more about Knack in the next segment, but there were still, at this point, it's the top of the 5th, questions about how deep in the game Knack was going to go, how much of the bullpen they'd have to use. And a 2-run game is in the 5th inning still way too close for comfort. And the Dodgers started the inning. Will Smith singled one of his 4 hits, and then Max Muncy doubled, so it was 2nd and 3rd with nobody out. And then Teoscar Hernandez struck out looking at a pitch on the corner, argued with the umpire, even though it, at least according to the K-Zone on the TV, it was definitely a strike. And then James Outman popped up to the catcher, and it looked like they were going to squander, a prime scoring opportunity. Like 2nd and 3rd no outs is even better than bases loaded no outs, because you don't even have the force at home. Like it was, you have to score with 2nd and 3rd no outs. And, when you get a strikeout and a pop out, and then your number 8 hitter who is batting 158 or whatever coming up to bat, you think, oh crap, well, this rally is going to fizzle. And then it got to 2 strikes on Lux, but he then ripped a base hit, hit it, right between the first and second basemen, and just kind of settled, didn't try to do too much with 2 strikes, shortened up, and put the ball in play and got it between the infielders to drive in those 2 runs and turn that from being a frustrating inning into a great inning. And that kind of set the tone. The Nationals never really threatened again after that. Knack settled in, and the offense, like you mentioned earlier, took off in the late innings. But at that point, that hit was, maybe the most important hit of the game. Yeah, you think you could make a case for that anyway.
Yeah, and for Lux, it's been a matter of he looked great in the spring offensively, didn't look great defensively. Season started, he looks pretty solid defensively, not so great offensively. And, we both knew they weren't going to give up on him this early, even though I maybe advocated for it a little bit in the sense of Miguel Rojas getting some more ABs, which is a interesting turn of events. But knowing that he's going to have a little bit of leash, about 2 months leash, the way he's going right now. He's not playing every game. He's playing most games against, or pretty much all games against right-handed pitchers, some games against left-handed pitchers, depends who needs a day off. And it hasn't been great so far, but again, there's time for him to improve. There's not really a necessity for us to, kind of harp on anything if they are going to give him this runway. Realistically, Miguel Rojas is getting enough plate appearances that is probably keeping him where he's at. Like, he's been productive, but, we've also seen him be an everyday player on multiple occasions. One of those occasions being last year, and it didn't quite work out. So, for now, Lux is fine defensively at second base, if not above average, and hopefully he can get the bat going now.
Yeah, and the big question will be, his strikeout rate it's a little higher than it was last year, and a little higher than it was, not last year, but in 2022 when he was really, really good, but it's still right around league average. The big question is if he can get the hard hit percentages down a little bit. The thing that's really down, though, is his line drive percentage. And I think that's the big thing. Like, even when he's getting hits this year, Lux is hitting singles. He hasn't, does he have any extra base hits? He won double. He has one double this year, just, a lot of singles. And that's where, like, if he's batting ninth and if he was batting 300, it would be fine that it was all singles. But the fact is, even if he goes on a hot streak, he's going to be more of a mid 200s hitter and, up to 280 maybe. And he's going to need some extra base hits, not necessarily home runs. So home runs will come. He's got a lot of power, but he's not necessarily going to be a home run hitter. But he does need to be hitting more line drives so that he can find some gaps. He's got the speed. So, get some doubles and triples. I think he led the majors in triples in 2022, if I remember right. I don't know why I have to remember. I can just, so it led the National League, not the majors, but led the National League in triples. But he needs to hit line drives. In 2022, when he was really good, his line drive percentage was 24.0%. This year it's 15.6%. And his ground ball rate, the fly ball rate is almost identical. The entire difference is line drives have turned into ground balls. And we saw the same thing with Shohei Ohtani early in the season when he was also coming back from surgery, a different surgery, obviously, than Lux had. And we talked several times about how with the Ohtani, it was more of a timing thing than a hitting ability thing. And because he was hitting the ball hard. And Lux is, not hitting the ball quite as hard. Obviously not nearly as hard as Ohtani, but not quite as hard as peak Lux. But he's hitting the ball okay. It's mostly just where he's hitting it. And that's going to be the big key that we have to look for over the next few weeks. Can he turn some of those ground balls into line drives? Because if he doesn't hit more line drives, I don't think he is a big league hitter. But if he hits line drives with his speed and everything, like, he can be a legitimate, really, really good offensive player. But that's the key, is hitting those line drives.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. We saw some power in the minor leagues. I think he topped out at 26 homers one season. And then he got to the majors, and he's kind of had a weird road. The 2022 was the one time he did get the full season, almost 500 plate appearances that year, and he played well. He was above average offensively. Didn't quite have the power 6 homers, but did have 7 triples and 20 doubles. So, like, still pretty strong, slugging percentage wise, even without the homers. But at that point, it had seemed like he kind of reinvented himself a little bit into being a better hitter, or a better major league hitter. Because in the minors, he was hitting for average and power. In the majors, he hadn't quite figured it out what he wanted to do. So, he's a guy that we've seen is very much confidence based, and it's been on offense, it's been on defense, and he's held up well so far this season. I don't think I've seen the frustration that we maybe would have seen a few years ago if this was happening to Lux, or that we did see. And, in that sense, it's good. Now you would just like to see him have the production to go along with everything else that's been going right for him.
Yeah. And I guess one other thing that I'm noticing when I'm looking at these percentages is the other big difference is he's not going to the opposite field nearly as much. And I think that probably comes with the line drives. We saw his first base hit today was a line drive to left field. And that's the kind of hit that if he gets more of those, because like in 2022, his opposite field percentage was 15.8%. This year it's only 8.9%. And this was before today's game, so it's a little higher than that. But going opposite field, and some of that is accepting that you're not a power hitter, you are a line drive hitter. But there is so much value in a fast line drive hitter at the bottom of a lineup. It's just crazy how much value there is if he can turn himself into that.
Yeah. So again, we got about another month before there's any decisions that are likely going to be made about Gavin Lux, unless there's a big change of heart or anything like that. We saw they were swift with the move on defense, but that was a little bit bigger of an issue because you're going to get a lot more ground balls more than likely than at bats sometimes. And
shortstop defense is kind of important.
Yeah. So Landon Knack got his first career win. He went 6 innings. He gave the Dodgers exactly what they needed, even though it didn't look like he was going to do that in that second inning. So we're going to talk about him and then get a little bit into Walker Buehler and what the plan is for him. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. I've been on here and I've told you PrizePicks is fun. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. They are the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. And it's easy. You just got to pick 2 players and 2 statistical categories and pick more or less on the number that's provided. You pick 2 of those, you can put down and see if you can win. You can go all the way up to 6 choices. They have demons and goblins, which are different variables of or variety of difficulty that can get you more and bigger payouts. And it's easy. Like I said, if the Dodger game's starting in 5 minutes, you can put down a PrizePicks in 2 minutes, realistically, picking more or less. Ohtani hits, runs, RBIs over 2.5, more or less. You pick, Freddie Freeman doubles over 1.5. You pick in a game, strikeouts. Landon Knack if you would have had strikeouts more or less on him, and he had 5 strikeouts. So if you would have had 4.5 on him, if that was the offer, then you would have won on there. So go check out PrizePicks. It's easy. It's fun. Remember, you can use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Download the PrizePicks app and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit amount up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. We want to thank you for making us your first listen every morning. If we're not, you should consider us at the gym or making breakfast or getting your kids ready or taking your kids to school or going to work, whatever you can. But mornings are perfect for us. We're here for you every Monday through Friday for about 30 minutes. And remember, you can go beyond the podcast to become a Locked On Dodgers insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers, where you can text directly with us, get news and reactions and thoughts when news breaks during the day or during the weekend or whatever, when you're not maybe by your phone all the time. One of us will be by our phone and we'll be sending out updates. So make sure to go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers and start texting with us. All right, Jeff. So Landon Knack, he went 5 innings, 2 runs, his first career start against the Nationals at Dodger Stadium. He went up himself a little bit, going 6 innings with 2 runs allowed and getting his first win. The offense gave him, more than he would have just needed 3 runs last time that they played, and he would have got his first career win. But either way, he pitched very well at the Dodgers. Dave Roberts kind of mentioned needing some length out of Knack. That second inning, he ended up throwing about, 34 pitches. Looked like he was going to give up, some more runs. He walked in a run. He had the bases loaded. He got the last out of that inning. And then similar to his first start, he started cruising the rest of the way after that, ended up finishing 6th. Have we seen enough from Knack to continue to want to see more?
Yeah, for me, it seems pretty clear that he is, among their best options right now. And maybe it's impossible to have this conversation without talking about Walker Buehler, who made another rehab start tonight for Oklahoma City. It was in Albuquerque, so it's hard to tell because Albuquerque is a launching pad. And there was times back when Albuquerque was the Dodgers AAA affiliate that they wouldn't even send their top pitching prospects to AAA. They just leave them in AA till they're ready for the big leagues because it's so hard to judge a pitcher based on how he pitches in Albuquerque. And so, I think the key takeaway from Buehler was that he threw 86 pitches or something, which means arm buildup. He's probably ready to come back, but if they have concerns about the quality, but yeah, I mean, even if he came back, we've talked about maybe the idea of a 6-man rotation. It seems to me like Landon Knack sending him down now would be silly, because he has proven that he can battle through adversity, and other than a bad stretch of a couple batters in each game, he has been somewhere between good and dominant.
Yeah, it was interesting in his first start, in that first inning specifically. You could tell the nerves, you can tell everything. He was maybe moving a little too quick in this game, and that he got through the first inning, and I think he got a little too comfortable. He was looking, very comfortable in his delivery and everything else, and then he got the first 2 outs of the second inning on 5 pitches, and then it took him 29 pitches to get the last out, and it ended up, leading with some runs and some walks, and but you look at the final stat line, and it was 6 innings, 3 hits, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, 2 runs. Like, that's a solid stat line. Obviously, 3 walks you'd like to cut down on, but the fact that most of those walks and everything else were just 1 inning, it's pretty good. And the fact that both times he struggled, and the first inning of the last game, second inning of this game, he got out of it by limiting the damage. Regardless of whatever happened, he only ended up giving up 2 runs. And that's a big sign of somebody that, you can count on a little bit, or at least give more opportunity to. And I think that's definitely what he's earned. You talked about James Paxton and kind of what the deal is with him, or what the Dodgers could do with him. Maybe there's something that they're going to find in his mechanics, and they're say, hey, maybe let's go work on this. You have a shin splint or something like that, and you can go work on this while we give Landon Knack a little bit more run up here. And then, we figure it out going from there.
Yeah, and either way, it does seem like Knack is a really good big league option right now, especially because, I mean, they don't need the ace. They have Tyler Glass now. Yamamoto has looked really good. They're not looking for a rotation savior. They're looking for a guy who can hold down the 5th spot in the rotation and do a pretty good job. And Knack more than fits that bill. And if Gavin Stone can keep doing it too, I mean, this has the makings of a really solid rotation. And that's, we've talked about with the bullpen, and I guess maybe this is a segue into talking a little bit about Treinen and Gratterall. But one of the keys to the bullpen improving is getting some of the key guys back, and not sure when that's going to happen. But another key is the rotation going deeper. And when you have a guy who is giving you 6 innings, I don't think the Dodgers are in a position to look that particular gift horse in the mouth right now.
Yeah, and realistically, he probably could have at least started the 6th inning in his last game based on pitch count. They just, wanted to give him the time after he settled down after that first inning. So, yeah, I mean, definitely a good option. Speaking of Treinen and Gratterall, Blake Treinen had a tough go of it in his first rehab assignment. It looked like, I think he topped out at 95. So not quite what we're used to seeing at him. He'll probably need, at least another couple weeks down there, figure it out and see if he can get back to where he needs to be. Brusdar Gratterall, unfortunately, was shut down and got shut down a few days ago. It's going to take even longer than expected. So, that's a big blow to the bullpen. Treinen, we're still waiting to see if he can get back. But if this starting pitching can start going deeper in the game, Glass now goes 8 the other day. Nat goes 6. Even Yamamoto went 6, even though, it wasn't the best stat line in terms of runs allowed. But if these guys can continue to do that, then, that's less of Vesia and Brazier and guys that have struggled, and a little bit more of a chance to maybe get them into some easier situations. Yarbrough plays a big role in taking down multiple innings, took down the last 2 innings of yesterday's game. So, all that being said, there's still a lot of work to happen for the bullpen, but if the starters can steady a little bit, I think they'll be okay in the time being. And then for Walker Buehler, yeah, he did pitch into the 5th inning, didn't get through it. Did get to 86 pitches. Before the game, Dave Roberts said that they weren't sure if his next start would be with the Dodgers or another rehab assignment. So then that got the wheels turning in my head. Like, I thought you could only be down there a certain amount of time on rehab. I knew 21 days was in my head for some reason. And turns out I was right with about 21 days, but not for the position that Walker Buehler plays.
Yeah, it's actually 20 days, but that's for position players. For pitchers, the maximum length of a rehab assignment is 30 days. But also, if you are coming back from Tommy John surgery, the CBA allows for 3 consecutive 10-day extensions. So realistically, Buehler, I mean, it's been 24 days now. Can you say it's been without trying to break into that Bare Naked Lady song? You're not as old as I am. You weren't even live, or you were like 7 years old when that song came out. When I said it's been, I just went, it's been. Anyway, but it's been 24 days. And so there's 6 more days left. So plenty of time for Buehler to get one more rehab start in. But then they also do have the option of him consenting to up to 3 more 10-day extensions. It does have to be with his consent. But, if he's not ready, he's going to consent to it. I don't think they're going to try to mess him over like that. But, I wouldn't be surprised either way. Honestly, I could see it going both ways. The fact that he's thrown 86 pitches, which means next start, he's ready to throw 95. And that means that he's ready to go 6 innings in the big leagues. Maybe that's all they're looking for. But also maybe they do want to see him, even if the next rehab start is that's the hard thing. It's like, well, the best weather location as far as getting a feel for what he's actually like is Cucamonga, but that's low A, and so the competition, it's hard, it's hard to know where to do it. So maybe double A is the best middle ground. If I haven't looked at the schedule where Tulsa's playing 5 or 6 days from now, but ultimately it seems like they might want one more rehab start, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they announce that he's coming back and, whether they're going to 6-man rotation or, James Paxton got those shin splints you were talking about or whatever. Nothing really would surprise me at this point because I learned a long time ago that if you allow yourself to be surprised by the Dodgers and their roster moves, you're just going to spend your entire life being surprised.
Yeah. And honestly, with, he hasn't been lights out, and, realistically, he's working more on getting everything back to feel, pitches, different things. He's not necessarily worked down there to get outs per se. He's down there to get a pitch count up and to work on different things that he needs to work on. But it's one of those where it's like, I just want to see Walker Buehler in a major league game already to see if, okay, maybe the adrenaline will get him over that hump where he's kind of, velocity is not quite where we thought it might be, or he's touched a velocity but kind of sits a little bit lower where, just the adrenaline, everything else gets him amped up. Even if it's too amped up, I just want to see what he looks like already in the majors because, it's still a long time to the trade deadline. But if Walker Buehler is not going to be able to contribute or not be the guy that he has been in the past, then that does change a little bit of what you're kind of looking at in terms of roster construction.
Yeah, and maybe calling back to our first segment, the offense would be a big help to that. If the Dodgers knew, well, we're going to score 10 or 11 runs a game, sure, let's get Buehler up here. And if he gives us 6 innings and allows 5 runs, guess what? We're going to win the ball game. And kind of same with, we saw Ryan Brazier in this game. He came in with a 6-2 lead and pitched great, had a 1-2-3 inning, and it wasn't high stress innings. And, there's so many different ways that a good offense can help. When we talked last week about how Glass now starting pitching can help the offense. And this is the flip side of that maybe is more obvious that, if you score a bunch of runs, it makes it a lot easier to pitch, whether you're a starter coming back from injury or a reliever trying to find it or anybody else. Like having an offense clicking like the Dodgers have clicked a couple times in the last few days is a pitcher's best friend for sure.
Yeah. So again, not that they care too much about who they come back against, but when they do come back home, it's the Braves and then there's somebody else or the Marlins, and then they go to San Diego. So maybe that Marlins series, if not on this road trip, they try to ease them into there. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's basically another rehab start, right?
Yeah. So, all right. You got anything else, Jeff?
I don't think so. Good day for the Dodgers.
Great day for the Dodgers. We got an early game today, 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock.
I think it's 1 o'clock,
time.
2 o'clock my
Pacific.
time.
Yeah, 1 o'clock Pacific time. Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound. So we'll see. Hopefully, they can give length and prevent runs and put it all together. So thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and be notified when episodes are there for you. Make sure to be coming every day by listening and watching every day. Tell your friends and family and anybody else that's a Dodger fan in your world that there's a podcast for them every Monday through Friday for 30 minutes. You can go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. You can text directly with us and get texts from us with news, thoughts, reactions, and different things that happen throughout in the Dodgers world. You can go to Locked On Sports Today or Locked On Sports Los Angeles on YouTube, both 24/7 streaming channels covering the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. You can find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vincents91. You can DM us with any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car, if you're at home, search My Device Play Podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.